This little Honda is just coming out awesome. So we're just about finished here. Let's mount the seat next, and then we'll do the wrap after that, and then we're done. So anyway, grab these pieces. This is your seat pans, these two, and then the springs. There's one here, but grab two. And then your little seat block. Grab those, and let's slam this seat on this bike. Okay, go ahead and mount the little block to the front of the pan like that. Make sure the hole is to the front. And then grab the springs and the screws that hold the springs on there. I've mounted those ahead of time so you can tell what they look like mounted. But this is how you mount the spring. Okay, grab the spring like this. What I do, I just shove the head of the screw down in there a little bit like that. And run the Allen wrench up and meet the Allen screw there like that. Stick it on the end of the Allen wrench basically. And shove that down in the screw like that, in the spring. And then just take the washer and slide it over the spring or the screw like that, and shove the screw back in, and there you have it. The washer's on the inside, and then you can go ahead and put the spring, mount the spring through that hole. Now the most important thing is we want to overlap the top, this piece onto this piece. So this piece will go on the top of this one. So go ahead and do that, and then just put the nylock nuts on the bottom and leave these just a little bit loose for now. Do that to both sides. This is an unpainted one, so you can see more what's happening there. Okay, if you'll remember from before, these little brackets here should be a little bit loose still. And then make sure there's no wires and stuff down in this area that might interfere with the pan. So this is the way it slides onto the bike. This goes on there just like that. That little tab goes under that flange out front. It should fit right down like that. Okay, now when you get it on there, these slots. There should be you should see the thread of the nut on the bracket below. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you how to mount this all up so it fits really nice. Before we tighten this up, make sure that your springs are mounted this way. This is looking at the back of the bike here. So these are the springs here. There's a little loop, a funny looking loop on the spring. Make sure that's to the right on both springs. It's really important that you get that little loop to the right side. What that'll do is it'll space this spring away from this edge here a little bit. If you go the other way, if this loop's on the wrong side, the spring will be right next to that shelf there and it won't work as well. So anyway, make sure that those springs are on there that way. That's really important. Loop to the rights. Okay, everything should be still a little bit loose, even the springs. Okay, make sure the first thing I want you to do is put these screws in the back here. Put those two screws, and then just cinch those up a little bit. Go ahead and tighten those up a little bit. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to slide the pan, this front part of this pan, forward as we tighten these springs up. Make sure you push this part of the pan forward as you tighten the springs. What that'll do is it'll force that little flange up front. It'll force it up in there nice and snug. And then and then go ahead and tighten these up as you're pushing on that. And then after that's done, then go ahead and tighten these bolts here, the big bolts that hold the brackets on underneath these. I'll show you on the other side. It's the big bolt that goes through. This is the nut here, and it holds the outside of that bracket on toward the bullet light there. So first these, then these pushing forward, and then the big bolts down here. Now the way this pan is designed, it's really cool because all you got to do is take these two screws out. Even after the seat is mounted, you can take these two screws out and the whole seat and pan and everything will come out at once. And all the wiring and stuff will stay in place. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, let's continue on. Okay, grab your seat, and then this is the fork that mounts on the bottom of the seat there. What I want you to do is push the fork all the way back this way as you tighten these bolts up. So go ahead and shove that all the way back. You can cinch these up pretty good and tight, and leave the star washers underneath. That helps hold that bracket in place. So go ahead and tighten those up. Tighten them up pretty tight there, too. You won't strip them out. I've mounted the seat now. If you'll notice, the flanges on the bracket underneath are on the outside of the springs. That's not set in stone. You can mount it either way, but I think that's the way it fits the best. And then the washer goes on the spring side. And then the nylock nut. You can see on the other side there. You can see the washer. That keeps the nut from pulling through the spring. So you can go ahead and cinch those up pretty good. You can get those pretty tight if you want. And then we'll go to the front mount. Now, if it all comes out the way it should, you should have to push the seat forward a little bit as you put the bolt through here. That's what we want. We want that to go forward just a little bit, stick the bolt through there, And then go ahead and put the nylock nut on the other side of that. Now what you do is you go ahead and run that in kind of snug, and then do me a favor and back it out about a half or 3/4 turn at least. You want that to be loose on there. You want that to be loose so it moves. And then give it a little shot of oil on both sides. Because this will pivot on this block here. It's a pivot point. So you want that loose, and you want it to be able to pivot on there. And there you go. I think we've got that seat mounted on there. It looks good. Let's go ahead and do the exhaust wrap. Oh, don't forget to tighten your signal lights up if you forgot. And then one last thing, if you remove these two screws, you can go ahead and lift this whole pan, seat, and all out of there. It's really cool.